Welcome to the Biz-to-Biz Podcast, your number one source for all business news.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of B2B Vault, the Biz-to-Biz Podcast, coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, sponsored by Nationwide Payment Systems and our new gateway, NPS One, which is a smart invoicing platform with an open API. And today we have a guest on the show, Mike Bernicker. And Mike is a kind of a serial entrepreneur guy who's come up with a bunch of, he's got a bunch of different SaaS products, and we partner with him. So we'll preface that Mike is a partner with Nationwide Payment Systems. And we're here today to discuss one of Mike's ventures. We may dip into a few other ones that he's still working on. And welcome to the show, Mike.
Yeah, thank you for the intro. Yeah, happy to jump into it. Yeah, we've been working together for a few years now.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Been a partner, but yeah, the most recent venture is rooming that we're going to dive into, a property management system.
Yeah,
So,
so like with rooming, what's the, property management, that's like, lots of, there's lots of people like that's like the side gig, it's a
mhm.
investor gig, there's a lot, and then there's, huge, massive companies. So what's the
Yeah.
target audience for rooming?
So right now we built rooming essentially for the growth stage landlord or property manager. So, there's a lot of systems out there that are geared toward residential property management. You got Buildium, Appfolio, just to mention a couple. But, a lot of these systems are not exactly built for someone who's looking to grow their portfolio or is sort of new to the space. So what we did was we built a very intuitive system that sort of, checks all the boxes when it comes to property management, from handling, leases. So we have, direct integration with DocuSign. You can fire off a copy of a lease, get a signature, store it right within the system. Obviously, we have a payment integration where you can pay your rent, put a deposit down, utilities, anything like that. Maintenance requests, so, dynamic requests where tenants can submit a request with picture, video, audio, along with sort of an AI diagnosis of the issue, sort of giving the most detailed request possible. We also built out, we built out what we call a features library, where you can sort of add and drop functionality to your liking. We have a mortgage tracker in there. We have an inspections tab in there. We have a QuickBooks integration, reporting, things like that. So, it's been really well received by the market since our launch a couple months ago. And we're excited. And right now it's geared toward residential property management, but we do have some plans to get into commercial and industrial as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think from a landlord, not me as a landlord, but I know like
Mhm.
my landlord, they're like, we had to mail them a paper check every month for like the
Mhm.
longest time. Then finally they're like, okay, you can pay us with an ACH. And then
Mhm.
recently they put up a portal, which is not exactly user friendly, but
Mhm.
it's functional.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we tried to do with rooming was make it as user friendly as possible. So a lot of these systems, they're clunky, they might be a little slow, the tech stack might not have been updated in a long time. And so we kind of came in trying to shake things up with, a fair pricing model and also just a very intuitive flow to the system that has really been winning us business. On the surface, it looks like a very simple system. And, if you're new to property management, we figured, that's the best way to do it because if you log into our system, you can see, even if you don't have experience in the property management space, you'll be able to navigate the platform and understand what you're doing. So that's where we tried to build it. And again, on the surface, it's simple. On the back end, there's a lot of things running that make it efficient and, a tool that really brings value to people, especially in that growth stage.
Yeah, and I know when you demoed the system for me, and we talked about a lot of different features that you had in there, which is amazing,
Mhm.
and the use of AI. So talk about like how you guys use AI because I think it's really interesting for, the user to
Mhm.
understand like what the AI is doing and how it's helping them.
Yeah, so the first sort of, I guess, piece of AI that we use is for the onboarding process. So one big issue that we came across when we were doing our market research was a lot of these systems had a very long onboarding cycle where it would take, anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. So if someone wanted to flip their system, it would be, a month on average to get them up and running on a new platform. So that was one thing that was, evidently a headache within this space, specifically in software. So we plugged in a few different AI capabilities where we can do instant onboarding. So we essentially built a chat assistant where you can upload a CSV file, a Word document, a PDF of essentially everything that relates to your portfolio: properties, units, tenants, monthly rent, contact info, and a bunch of other fields that are necessary. Once you have all of those fields filled out in the document format, you upload that to the chat bot assistant that we built, and then it will correctly map all of that data for you. And on average, that takes about around 7 minutes is what we've been seeing. Um, so yeah, that's been one thing, is that we've been able to get people using the system almost instantly. We've onboarded people the same day, or next day, but that's been one way that we've utilized AI. Another way that we've utilized it is we give each tenant their own assistant, essentially. So on the property management portal, you can go in and customize these assistants for your tenants. So you go in and you enter rules about your property and details about, the specific unit, the area, whatever it might be. If there's, a strict no pet policy, if there's a noise ordinance in the area, if tenants are not allowed to hang a TV on the wall, whatever specifics go into the rules of your property, you can coach this bot to understand that. The tenants can then ask this bot questions and say, hey, when is my lease up? Hey, what is my monthly rent? What deposit did I put down? The bot will understand the rules and everything that you entered about the property, and it will respond to the tenants. That's been a really popular feature because one thing, again, when we were doing our market research, was a lot of people get frustrated with the amount of time spent on the phone for things that didn't really, warrant a phone call. Tenants calling at, late at night asking questions about their pets or their rent or when it's due or whatever it is. So what we try to do is take pressure off the phones and, sort of give one extra layer of, peace of mind for our clients.
Yeah, and it's also like getting text messages and
Hmm.
maintenance requests, and then it's coming in a text, and then you got to send it to
Hmm.
somebody else. You have tools that are keeping somebody organized as they're
Hmm.
growing their portfolio. And another one of the features that I really liked was the English and the Spanish getting translated back and forth because
Yeah. So
that's a
that's
huge that can be a huge issue. I was speaking to somebody and they were like, well, we have a lot of Hispanic tenants. And I was like,
mhm.
yeah, they can type in Spanish and then you see it in English.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a supported languages feature on the back end where you can enable different languages, any language that you want. So, like you said, if you have, a property, a building, whatever it might be, with a predominantly Spanish speaking, French speaking community, whatever it might be, you can translate their portal to their native language and it will come back to you in the language that you prefer to receive it in. So if you set it for Spanish for your tenants, but English for you, they'll see it in Spanish. Everything comes back to you in English. That's been another really popular feature of ours. So yeah, that's been a good one.
Yeah, because it's, people are trying to run their business and not get run over by their business.
Hmm.
And I remember like many years ago before there was like internet. We were managing, me and a couple of other guys, we were managing a bunch of properties. And I was like,
Hmm.
I'm not sure this is for me. I'm getting text messages from property owners
Exactly.
that, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then we're trying to, and it's a lot to deal with when have like because that's sometimes, that's not, wasn't my full-time job, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
that's the thing. And that's sort of, another reason that we built this, like you said, going back to your point earlier, like for a lot of people, this starts as a side hustle that they want to turn into a full-time career. So what we did was we tried to build a system that saves time, is efficient, but also grows with you. So let's say you have 10 properties right now or 10 units in your portfolio. You want to grow that to 30 units by the end of the year within 18 months time, whatever it is. We've built out a way for you to essentially keep track of all of that, keep track of the organizations that own each property. And so we built essentially what we like to call a growth tool. So you're starting out and you want to turn this into something more, our system will grow with you during that process.
yeah, talk about like how it works like with roommates, because that's also like a popular thing where someone owns like units, owns
Mhm.
properties like in a college town, and
Yeah, exactly.
two, three,
So
four people living in an apartment, but they all pay separate.
yeah, exactly. So that's another feature that has been pretty popular. So um, essentially, owners of the property who are in their rooming portal can obviously create tenants, assign them to a property, give them a tenant portal. Um, for the roommates function, you can do one of two things. If you want to set what we call an admin tenant who is responsible for handling all of the maintenance requests, all of the payments, everything that has to do with, the property for the duration of that lease, you can do that. Or you can create roommates where each roommate, let's say there's four people, all four of them will have access to the same portal where they can see maintenance requests that were submitted by one of their roommates. They can see who paid on time, who didn't, and everyone will have access to that. There are different use cases where, sometimes a landlord or property manager prefers to have an admin tenant where they're only dealing with one person. We've seen that in, off-campus college houses with, six, seven, eight people living in there. And so, that avoids some headache, but the roommates feature has been pretty popular. It keeps everyone on top of their, paying on time and they're able to track, who's on top of what. If their roommate's bedroom has a hole in the ceiling, they'll be able to see that. Okay. So they submitted that. It's like,
What's
this guy
going
is.
on at that college?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this guy isn't just letting this go by the wayside, and we're not going to lose our deposit. He's actually on top of his side of it. So it's been a really strong rollout, and we're building some new features right now that we think are going to, definitely be very beneficial in the market. And yeah, we're excited to, kind of keep building off of what we already built. The system itself is strong today, but there are a lot of features that we're planning to implement very soon that will sort of, grow the reach of our platform.
Yeah, one of the things, like I was talking to somebody that has some units up in a college area, and they were
Hmm.
telling me this, oh, the biggest problem they have, and I was telling them, we're trying to get them to do a demo, but the
Hmm.
biggest problem they have is, they have about four people because they're like quad units. So there's four people in each apartment. Everybody
Hmm.
pays their rent separate. And then,
Yeah.
they're getting rent payments from Zelle, PayPal,
Hmm.
Cash App, Venmo, and
Hmm.
and it gets very difficult for them to just
To keep track,
to
yeah. So
keep
it's
track
funny.
of it.
That's actually another feature that we did plug into the system. So for payments that do come from outside of the platform, you can record that in your payments dashboard. So in the event that someone, pays cash, overnights you a check, if you accept Zelle, Venmo, things like that, you can track that within the platform. We do encourage the use of the payment gateway just for keeping things organized and, reporting and generating different things that you might need for your reference down the road. But if need be, you can record that within the system.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier to use the payment gateway
Hmm.
because you're taking a credit card, a debit card, or an ACH from
ACH,
somebody,
yeah.
and
So
that's
yeah,
making it easy for the customer to pay you because that's how that money's traveling with all those apps anyway.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, that's been, a great thing for us is, and obviously that's, probably the biggest thing when it comes to, the sale of the software and client acquisition where, we have next day funding, we have, ACH capabilities, we have an embedded gateway that can handle everything that you need from a payments perspective. Because at the end of the day, you do want to keep everything organized from a maintenance request standpoint, from, you know, just keeping your portfolio in line. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you get paid in a timely manner. And, we do have other features in there for, we have triggers for if someone was late last month, you can create a trigger to let them know 10 days before their rent's due. Hey, make sure that you pay your rent this amount on this date. And they'll be notified leading up to that date to, alleviate some of the pressure for the landlord to make sure that they get paid on time.
Yeah, that gives sends the landlord like reminders too, like, oh, these here's the list of people that didn't pay. Let's say it's
Mhm.
on the 5th, here's a list of people who haven't paid yet. So,
Exactly. And
they know who to reach out to without
exactly.
without manually going down your list, going, oh, this guy, and you're searching through 5 different apps to
Exactly.
go figure it
Exactly.
out.
Yeah, you're not going through your Venmo history or things like that. You can generate an invoice on the fly, send it to someone. Yeah, it really it keeps you on top of your portfolio for sure. And yeah, we've seen just a lot of good feedback coming in from, the current clients that we deal with. And yeah, it's been a great rollout. This is one of a few software ventures that I've been involved in. And like I said, we rolled it out about 2 months ago, and the reception from the market's been great.
And it
Um,
automates like the late payment. So if there's a late payment due, it
yep.
automatically puts it on there.
Yep, exactly. You can create different types of late fees. You can set a percentage of the rent, you can set a fixed amount, a daily rate. You can do that kind of thing where, you know, if you want to set a trigger for, you owe me an extra 10% of your rent if you're a week late or whatever it is, that'll automatically dock on there. And, again, an added layer for making sure that your tenants are paying on time.
And talk about like the maintenance feature, like how that works. Someone puts in a ticket, and then
Mhm.
if you're the landlord, let's say maybe you're the fix it guy, it doesn't need to go
Yeah.
to somebody, but let's say you do have a handyman that you,
Yeah.
how does that
So
work?
So we created a feature within there, a contacts tab. So very similar to your phone, you can store a contact list, name, email, phone number, category. So category could be, maintenance, legal, realtor, whatever it might be. Um, and you can give these people access to the system if they're, someone who handles your maintenance requests or your property manager, whatever it is. But another popular feature has been our contact search tab. So let's say you get a maintenance request for a clogged drain and you don't have someone on call or someone that trust to deal with that. You can simply go into this contact search feature and enter the address or use your current location, depending on where the property is. It'll pull a list of people in your area. So let's say you select plumbers. You enter the address of the property that needs maintenance. You can click search and you can see Google reviews, contact info, things like that for people in your area that can help you with this issue. You can add them to your contacts list, give them a call. If they approve and say, yeah, we'd love to help you with this, you can actually assign that maintenance request to them right from the platform. They'll get an email with all of the maintenance request details. So they'll see a picture of the clogged drain, they'll see an address of the property, and, they'll be able to see the tenant notes. Like, I tried resetting it, didn't work, can't seem to get this fixed, whatever it might be. They can then go into the portal, update that. They can add their own pictures, own videos once it's done. And then from there, you can send them their payment. If you decide to charge the tenant, you can fire off an invoice to them. So that's been a really popular feature, especially, like I said, for that growth stage landlord or property manager. Yeah, the people who are kind of getting their feet under them in this industry who might not have the contacts, for these maintenance requests. So it's helping build relationships, it's supporting local businesses, And yeah, that's been another really popular feature.
Yeah, and if you have a maintenance guy, to just shoot it up that person over the info, and then they have it, and you're not
Mhm.
like going through like your text messages and copying things
Exactly.
and pictures, and keeps everything like organized so that you're keeping track of it. And then also, owning properties, you want to keep track of how much it costs you to whatever do repairs because
Exactly.
time to do taxes, right? To do
Exactly.
all
And
that.
yeah, that's another feature too, where you can enter an estimated cost where, if someone submits a request, you can take a look at it and say, I think this is going to cost me $500. And you can go back and once it's updated, you can enter the actual cost. And let's say it costs 350, and you go back and say, okay, I saved $150. I was anticipating spending 500, cost me 350. So, another just added layer of detail. But that feature specifically we've seen has really been beneficial in building relationships for, landlords, owners, property managers, and, the people who tend to these maintenance requests. It's again pulling people in your area, which, it starts with one maintenance request and then they build the relationship from there. So that kind of all goes back to, we kind of grow with you. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, so even if you have own like an apartment building and you have on-site maintenance person, this just keeps things a lot more organized than just text messages and emails.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, that's been another very well received feature that we built. So
When
yeah,
like like when you're going to get a tenant, talk about like the features that you have built in there so someone can make good decisions on tenants because that's always a landlord's
yeah,
worst nightmare is, oh my God, I'm getting
hmm
the bad, is this tenant good or they bad?
exactly.
So
Yeah.
explain
So
that.
yeah, so we offer we integrate with a company that does full background checks. So all you have to do is send over an application to your potential tenants. You can run the background check, see that in real time. It only takes, it takes less than a day to pull all of the information and get the background check over to you. From there, if everything looks good, like I said, we do have an integration with DocuSign where you can go right into the rooming portal, pull your lease template, enter it into DocuSign, enter the tenant's email, and send it right over to them. Once they sign it, it'll come right back to you. You can store that right within your portal for your reference. It will also be automatically stored in the tenant portal. And then once that tenant moves in, you'll be able to update that portal with an updated copy of their lease, their monthly rent, what their deposit was, and tenants will have access to this portal through the web.
And what
So
about checking their credit?
yeah, so that's part of the background check. So
Okay.
it comes back with, everything that you need to know if they're going to be a reliable tenant or not. Um, so again, that's, obviously very important because, a big thing that we've tried to help with too is tenant retention, right? Where you want to keep tenants in, a unit as long as possible. You want to make sure that, their process is seamless and that they have a good experience living at your property. So what we've tried to do is create a system also for the tenants that is just easy to use and goes a bit beyond just the property management itself. So, like one feature that we put in there was a things near me feature, where let's say you just moved to a new area, you just moved from New York to Miami, you're brand new to the area, and you're not really sure what's around you, what to do on a Friday night, that kind of thing. If you log into your portal, you can go to the things near me feature. You can filter it by events like concerts or flea markets or any events that are going on, restaurants, bars, nightclubs. It's fully customizable to what what's going on in the area. But that all goes back to, us trying to create an extra layer of tenant satisfaction where, we're kind of living in an age where, like, I personally know a lot of people who are, digital nomads where they work remotely and they'll go live somewhere for a year once that year's up, they go move somewhere else. And they're just trying new things and exploring new areas where, we've added a feature that, people can see what's going on around them. It's, something that our competition isn't doing. And again, it's something that we created that, keeps a tenant paying attention to the portal, making sure that their rent's paid on time. It's one extra thing that they're keeping an eye on. And it's actually been a much more popular feature than I thought it would be for people who are moving to a new place.
Yeah, because you want to be engaged with your tenant, you want to be engaged with your tenant, and
Hmm.
because they're your customer and you want to make the customer happy. So you want to
Hmm.
provide them with, tools because not everybody is on social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Go look
Exactly.
stuff up and and I've been fun and it's just funny like how that is, and especially like younger people, they're like
Hmm.
not into, they're not into Facebook, they're not into like
Yeah.
all these things, so they're, they rely on other, other tools to get their information.
Yeah, 100%. And, another thing is it gives visibility to local businesses and, new things to try in the area. So again, I personally, I wasn't sure how that feature would be received from a tenant standpoint, but it's been, like I said, a lot more popular than we anticipated. So it's been really cool to see.
Yeah, I was looking at a survey recently, and it was talking about people's moving, and they
Hmm.
were just talking about how some of the, how rents are fluctuating and up and
Hmm.
down, and how that, and how that is affecting like the rental industry. And it was pretty interesting. I was actually shocked about how often like people move. I remember when I was younger, and I would be happy to live in an apartment for 2 or 3 years.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm the same way. And yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, people are moving, at crazy rates. And another thing that we've seen is right now it definitely seems like it's a renter's market. Like I said, people are moving constantly. People are, always looking to try a new place and before they commit to buying a home, people are traveling more, they're exploring more places to try out for 6 months, a year, whatever it might be. So, we've gotten a lot of our clients who have these use cases where, their tenant they're in Florida, but they're moving to California in a couple months. And it is pretty crazy to see, how much people move around these days.
Yeah, the whole like work at home thing is kind of like spawn this whole thing where people, are like, okay, well, I'm working
Hmm.
at home and my employer, either I have my own business or my employer doesn't care where I end up.
Yeah, we don't have to be in office.
Right. You don't have to be in an office, and they'll say,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to live here for a year, then I'm going to go
Hmm.
move somewhere else for a year and try that out.
Exactly.
And they don't have, it's like I was listening to somebody and they were talking about stuff.
Hmm.
They don't have any stuff. They have like,
Yeah, yeah, you move into like a fully furnished
right.
apartment, or a lot of people do. What I've seen is a lot of long-term Airbnbs. So people do, a 3-month Airbnb somewhere, or it's a pretty wild time when you look at it.
Yeah, I actually was talking to somebody recently and they own a bunch of Airbnbs, and they were
Hmm.
thinking about peeling some of them off of there and
Hmm.
doing like 6-month rentals on them. And I was
Yeah,
and I think that some people are starting to figure out like, hey, maybe that's a more popular type of thing to do with rental property. I think we're going to see a lot of different things pop up in the future in the property management um, business
oh
where
yeah.
where there's just more things going on. And even I talk to people that are, I mean, I'm 65, so and I'll talk to younger people in their 20s and 30s, and they're like, I'm not interested in owning a home. I'm not interested in buying a condo.
Yeah,
There's this whole like um layer of people that they just want to rent. And
yeah, exactly. They don't want to commit to, a mortgage. They're kind of just seeing where life takes them. And yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the short-term rentals because we recently signed up a portfolio. So we're actually headquartered in Philadelphia, and we just signed up a portfolio of houses down at the Jersey Shore who, they do 3-month rentals, 1-month rentals, and they came to us and said, "Is this something that we can do on this platform?" We were like, yeah, if you have a short-term lease template, you can drop that in. And if you have to run a background check, you got to take a deposit, whatever it is. So that was actually the first use case that we saw of the short-term rentals. So I'm curious to see if we run into more of that.
Yeah, there's definitely like executive housing. We have a client that does executive housing, but it's
Mhm.
usually like 6 months to a year, furnished like
Mhm.
luxury homes. Talking
Yeah.
like the lowest one is around 5, 6 thousand bucks, and then up to like 20 grand a month.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That is wild.
Yeah, they don't have very many houses, and their plan is they buy them, rent
Mhm.
them for a few years, and then they try to flip them. But they buy a lot of stuff that's near like the coast, all over like the East Coast, up and down the East Coast. They're
Gotcha. That's a cool
executive
business model.
executive homes. Uh,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's interesting, the different types of things that you see. So if people want to find Mike, and they want to find rooming, what's the website?
So yeah, if you're interested in rooming, our website is getrooming.com. That's GETROOMING.com. And you can reach out to me directly. My email is mike@getrooming.com. And we'd love to show you a demo and explore, an opportunity to work together. We're always looking to collect feedback and, speak with new clients. So we're always ready.
And if they're listening to the podcast, any special offer you want to give people?
Yeah, so right now we are offering, we're waiving our onboarding fee for any new clients. So if you reach out from the podcast, we're, again, free setup. And yeah, like I said earlier, we'll have you onboarded within a day's time for no cost to you. So yeah,
All right. So, Mike, thanks for joining us on the podcast today. I've known Mike
yeah,
for a couple of years. He's entrepreneuring. He's a young guy. He's like
yeah,
trying to build tech stuff, and I think
yep,
this project is really cool. We're working with them, and also helping them try to find some new customers while supporting the payment processing on these platforms.
yep,
And it's a great product. And if you're a landlord, or um, you own an apartment building, whatever it is, Mike can help you out and explain everything and make it easy to get onboarded and get running your business. So thanks for
yep,
listening today to B2B Vault. Again, you can watch the show on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Find me on LinkedIn. Find the podcast there. And you can look up Mike's software at getrooming.com. Mention B2B Vault and get a free onboarding. So thanks for listeing today. Thank you, Mike, for joining us on the show.
yep.
Peace
Thank you
out,
for having me.
everybody, and carpe diem.
Have a good one.
Seize
Thank you.
seize the day.